Hello children, a humorous anecdote brings a smile to our faces. And what if it ends in a positive outcome? It's a cherry on the cake. Such a humorous anecdote has been related in the story Ranga's Marriage by Masti Venkatesh Iyengar. Mr. Iyengar was a Kannada language writer and he was highly popular. He was given the highest literary honor in India, that is the Gyanpith Award. Now the story is set in rural Karnataka. The author talks about the 10 years ago from the present of the story. It is set in village Hoshali, and at that point of time there are very few educated people there. The use of English language is very less, and for someone who goes outside the village for a higher education is considered a different human being altogether. There are expectations from the villagers from that person. Now let's talk about the story. The narrator begins the story with a discussion of the title itself. It is a humorous discussion, and in the end he says that as Ranga is a familiar boy and the story is about a very day-to-day incident, so there was no need of a high and mighty title, and a realistic title has been used. Then he talks about Hoshali, the village in Karnataka, and he says it's not even on the map. And he talks about the English babus and the Indian babus following them and all that. And he says that the only good point about the village is the sour mangoes found there and the big leaf creeper on the pond. Then he tells us about Ranga, the protagonist of the story. He is the accountant's son. He is the hero of the story, and he is the first person of this village to go to the city for a higher education. Then he talks about English language and the influence it has had on the youth. He says that earlier not many people talked in English. There were only few words interspersed in the Kannada language, and he didn't even approve of that. But now people talk, especially the young boys who meet on the roads in the village, talk in English with each other. Now he comes back to when Ranga came back from the city 10 years ago, and all villagers came together to see whether he had changed or not. They were very disappointed to see the same old boy who was respectful to his elders and cheerful, and they went back saying that he has not changed. The narrator stayed back and Ranga talks to him very respectfully. Then few days later, Ranga even visits him with a gift. They have general chit chat and then they discuss marriage. Ranga says that his views are now different. He does not believe in the arranged marriage. He won't marry a child bride. He wants to marry a mature girl whom he is able to understand and who is able to understand him. Now this narrator is an older man. He is very disappointed with this point of view. He thinks that Ranga will make a very good match, and he even has a bride in his mind for him. That is another neighbor, Rama Rao's niece, who's come from the city, doesn't have parents and is very well equipped. She sings well, she can play the veena, she can play the harmonium, and then he thinks that something must be done to create a marriage situation for Ranga and Ratna. Now he thinks that the first thing that is to be done is to rouse the protagonist, the hero's interest. So he arranges a meeting. He goes to Rama Rao's place and asks the lady of the house to send Ratna to his house to fetch buttermilk. And then when Ratna is here in a great sari, grand sari, very nice sari, he calls for Ranga too and asks Ratna to sing something. When Ranga enters the house, Ratna is singing. He is so impressed by the voice that he peeps in to look at the girl, and the girl ends abruptly. They both fall in love with each other, and then all Ranga's educated thoughts evaporate. But as soon as the interest is roused, Shama is a very clever person, the narrator. He tells Ranga that the girl is probably married. Now the interest is roused in Ranga's heart, but he is not able to say anything. So the next day what he does is, Shama, he connives with the astrologer of the village, and they both plot and plan and make Ranga understand that Ratna is the perfect match for him. And then After that, Ranga confesses that he is very attracted and wants to marry. Then again, now that Shyama has told the boy that the girl is married, he has to clarify. He takes the boy to the girl's place, makes him stand outside and goes inside and comes back and tells him that he was confused and the girl is unmarried. Ranga is very happy. The happiness is evident on his face, and now the story comes back to the present. That is 10 years later. We see that Ranga and Ratna are married and have begotten 2 children, and the elder boy has been named after Shyama. This is a very interesting story, and now we must understand some interesting points that will help you in answering the questions. See, the narrator is humorous. He is a nice, wicked kind of person who connives and plots, but for a positive result. And all of Ranga's educated thoughts evaporate when he falls in love. These are very interesting points in the story. Then there is the issue of child marriage. This story is set a few years earlier. Now the child marriage issue is very important and we should not be indulging in this. Secondly, the language, the English and its influence and the value placed on it by the villagers is also highlighted in the story. And there is respect for Shyama by the boy Ranga because he even names his child after him. The title is simple and everyday, realistic. It is very important for us to realize that Ranga's marriage was a very important point for Shyama.